Welcome to Cool Life Podcast, brought to you by therealthingdating.com. www.therealthingdating.com.
Polydor Records for out scouting. This girl grabbed my bangs and ran my head right into the speaker.
Oh,
And everyone heard like this, yeah.
When we shot the scene in Good Will Hunting, I didn't know who most of these people were at the time. I mean, they weren't stars. It was Gus Van Sant that directed it. Gus Van Sant was on the floor with Matt Damon's character. I didn't even know who Matt Damon was at that time.
I'm Eva John. I'm a former candidate for local government. I was a children's television entertainer, and I love this world. And I believe we should take care of each other and have a lot of fun along the way. Welcome to Cool Life. Here we go. And we're here at Cool Life Podcast with our friend Vittoria Gallone, real estate agent, and we're going to touch on the important subject of real estate. It's amazing how many people who may think they're not ready to purchase, that's not what they want to do, and find out that for years they've been in a position where they could buy a house and just never crunched the numbers, never found out. So it's something that can be a life-changing event, one of the biggest and most important purchases in many people's lives. And so I'm glad that we've got you here today, Vittoria.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be here and to share.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you're bringing your wealth of experience, your life experience, your knowledge of people, and that we can take a look at some of the important things and maybe, lesser important things or things that people brush aside when they're looking at purchasing. Now, you tell me, is it true that real estate agents, you guys get to see, all kinds of properties, you take people around to all kinds of, whether it's investment or for the residents, and do you guys just end up buying up all these great properties when you see something that someone passes on that's like, that's a find, that's a mansion for the price of a little condo, take it?
Actually, I don't know. I don't. I don't think there's been a property that my clients have passed up that I've wanted. And I believe there's a house for everyone. And no, and when I do, if that ever happens, then I'll have to let you know then, because I haven't had that experience yet.
Right. Well, I always wondered at that just because, when people see someone's going after a property that for some, maybe they're in a rush to sell and it's a lower, than the market value, and it's not a fit for someone else. But the best way you can be working and shopping at the same time.
Yeah, sometimes you see properties that are nice, but again, nothing that's been passed up yet that I said, I'd take that on or something. But who knows? Could be.
Right. And for the abilities of a real estate agent to negotiate, is that really a skill they need anymore now that you've got such in-depth appraisals that happen? And I mean, an appraisal is an appraisal, but now it's like, you see, they come in with all kinds of equipment, giving you all kinds of history on that house that you just never know otherwise. And does that kind of lock in the price that, that is the value, or do you really need to negotiate anymore?
Oh, your negotiation skills are so essential. They ultimately influence the outcome. And you really need to bring that to the table with your clients because you're looking out for their best interest. And not every deal is the same. So your negotiation skills are really going to help you with that. We negotiate things like not only the price, obviously, but you can negotiate the closing costs, you can negotiate the furniture, you can negotiate repairs. So those negotiation skills are going to help you and really serve your clients well. And so you really need to hone on those negotiation skills and make sure that you're really working to improve them and find different ways, because it's really actually fun sometimes, when you can negotiate and then you come through, you're bringing that to the table and you're helping your client negotiate. Let's say there's a piece of furniture that the sellers don't want to take, or I should say rather that they do want to take, but your clients really like it and they'd really love to have it in the home. And so you approach the sellers and you're the seller's agent, and I can help them get this piece of furniture that they had their eye on. And yeah, so always negotiation, influences the outcome for sure.
That's kind of cool that something like furniture or something is a personal item can be a part of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had any really tough negotiations so far?
The one sale that I recently did in June, I sold a house for a client, and the house was on the market for a long time. When we had offers coming in, there was certain negotiations that the buyers wanted, and the seller was hoping, not to give up so much.
Well, you're saying that they both have a goal. One wants to sell, one wants to buy, but then it's like the owner of the property, if it's been on the market for a long time, they're seeing a lot more value in the property. I guess they have more emotional connection to the property.
Mhm.
They know the work they've put into it, making it the way it looks at that point. Whereas someone
Yes.
walks up and they don't see, oh, you guys spent 3 months working on that bathroom. You could only use the basement bathroom for 3 months while you changed every tile. They can't see all that labor and all that love. They can't see the good memories and the experiences that, I guess,
Mhm.
increase that price tag for the owner. And for the buyer, they're just seeing, the walls. They're just seeing, front yard. They don't see
Right.
all of that. So they may not want to pay for that love in the house.
Right. And I remember getting a call from one of the agents who had brought an offer, and this agent thought that we were overpriced
Mm.
by a lot. And said, you've had it on the market for a long time. And I said, yeah, but our clients aren't in a rush. They can hold on to this. He started to compare it to a house that was just 2 doors down. And I said, yeah, I actually went to that house and walked through the house. And so I'm really familiar with it. And in comparison to my client's house, this is what we have. And so I started to give him the benefits or the features that the other house didn't have, where
Wow.
the one feature that the other house had that people were really interested in was that it was open concept when you walk in, right? So that's a
Right.
big thing right now. People like that open concept.
Sure.
My client's house didn't have that. Their house had more walls on the main floor. However, I had to remind the other agent that the kitchen, for example, in the other house didn't have an island, whereas my client's house had an island. Therefore, it looks smaller, but the actual kitchens were the same. They both were a U shape, except my client's had an island, which made it look a little smaller. But in actual fact, they were the same size kitchens. So things like that,
Of
And
course. And
yeah,
that's the whole
and
reason
so
people take walls down, because it gives you that illusion that when you're in the
yeah,
kitchen looking into the dining area and then beyond that into the living room, it almost
right.
feels like that is a part of your space. And no, it's not. It's not a part of your space. You're just looking into where your family is ignoring you and watching TV.
Right,
You're there
right,
chopping
right.
onions, but you kind of feel like you're a part of it. No, you're not. And it's not a
Yeah,
bigger room. But
right.
it's interesting that, like, it's a psychological thing, right? It
Yes,
makes
yes.
you feel that you're a part of something bigger in that house plan.
hmm
But the nice point, really, to say that they had the same size kitchen. So
hmm
yeah.
This agent actually didn't get the house. It was another agent that came. But when we were negotiating with the person that actually bought my client's house, we were negotiating. And at one point, they came down at the price, kind of low, like lower. Like I had said to the agent who was buying the house, please, like, make sure that your client comes in closer to the price, because my client's just going to hold on to it, right? So if you really want it, you have to be serious buyer. And they said, well, okay, well, that's fine, but of course we're going to come back with what we're going to come back with. And I said, yeah, sure, come on back, that's fine, I'll look at it. And they did. And then I said, you're just off by just a little bit. And I ran through the features of the house again with this buyer and proceeded to remind them that things like that you don't see. For example, they had a new furnace installed. They had a new air conditioner installed. They have concrete pads like their patio at the back or under their shed. Like all those little features and details that sometimes can't be seen, but they do have some value in negotiations, right? When you're going back.
Those are big points, really, in a cold climate. If you have an old furnace that breaks down on your first winter, that's not a nice feeling. You get a brand new furnace that's going to last you a good 20 years. Then sure. That's value. 20 peaceful winters.
Exactly.
On the phone at 2 a.m, trying to get someone to bring their truck down and fix your furnace.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Now, in this current market, do you find that there are people who think that there are all these wheeler dealers now because they've been watching those reality TV shows, all these $1 million properties and these big shots in Miami and whatnot? And now you get, ordinary Joe Blow comes in and he's, negotiating his tiny little shoebox house, but he's now thinking that this is the way things are done. Is that informing the behavior of potential buyers now?
Well, as an aside, I have this little story. I went to a real estate conference last year, and actually Christine Quinn from Selling Sunset, she was one of the speakers on the second day. And so that was really interesting. I don't watch those shows. And people, when I became a real estate agent, they ask me that all the time. Like, do you watch those shows? My nieces, do you watch Sunset or Selling Sunset and so forth? And I said, no, I don't. But not to say that those shows haven't brought some education, because people who watch them have learned tips. Like, they get tips in houses. So when they walk through the house and, some of my clients might mention things they're more aware of, right? So they pick up things. So that could be educational. However, on the other hand, they're kind of unrealistic, because for one example is they only show you like 3 houses on one of those shows, right? They can't do 10 houses in a 30 or 60-minute episode, right? So they're only showing you 3 houses, maybe. There hasn't been a time. I mean, my clients, I've shown them 30 houses before they've actually put one under contract.
Right.
So that's unrealistic. The other thing too, when it comes to background or the details of what really goes into remodeling and renovations, right? And the real ups and downs of that. So those shows can be, skewed, right? They're so skewed on some of those things, but they do, like I said, can be informative. They will talk to, sometimes some of those shows, they show you building supplies or what to look for in a house, which is kind of neat, because people come in and they'll notice things that they maybe wouldn't have otherwise noticed. So it can be kind of a learning, if the facts are right and they're there.
It can be somewhat educational.
Somewhat educational. And the other thing too, I mean, it puts the real estate industry in a good light, right? It's made it popular. Young real estate agents are coming up, a lot of young people have gone into real estate. So that's a good thing. It's these are all good points too.
Oh.
So what you have to take it with a grain of salt. I mean, when it comes to the amount of houses they're showing and what's happening, but there's good. You can take some good points from watching those two.
That's good to know, because I'd always thought it was turning people into thinking that they're like Daddy Warbucks now, and they can just saunter in like a Rockefeller.
Yeah, no, it does.
Put a fountain in.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
No.
But you know, they're entertaining, so
Yeah.
that's fun.
Oh,
That's fun.
definitely a little bit
Yeah.
inspiring. Now, Vittoria, have you ever had the moral dilemma of wanting to tell a client not to buy a house when they're really determined to buy a house they've already fallen in love with, and you know whether it's something about the house or about what they're really looking for, and you know that's not really going to be a fit? Have you ever found you just
Yes,
have to like not tell them?
yeah, yes, I have actually. People that I worked with, you know, I wanted to say something, but it's not my place. What, as a real estate agent, you're looking out for their best interests, yes. And the way that you do that is you gather information and you always provide them with all the information, stats, the neighborhood, the house, making sure that it fits within their needs and their wants. And then you're doing that so that you can give them the information so that they could make a real informed decision on their own, right? So as much as they really like a certain property, if you know that it's not going to be quite a good fit. So, I mean, when you're looking, like I said before, 30 properties, and I'm showing you 30 properties, there's going to be a couple in there that they really want, but may not be the right fit.
Right.
So I just want to be able to present them on every property, present them with the information that I gathered so that they can make the informed decision.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I guess in the end, right, if someone is determined, if there's something they think they like about the property, and even if there might be some detractors, that's not really in the end going to hinder them. I think that's the way a lot of people make their decisions about spouses too. And let me tell you.
Right? It's like when a friend says, I really like this guy. And you're thinking, oh no, please no.
Right.
But you know what? Can we really say that? Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Give them the information, they can make an informed decision.
That's right.
But really, they need to figure it out.
Real estate agent, we need boyfriend agents and husband agents and wife agents to negotiate and point out all of the detractors and all of the benefits and positive aspects. Yeah.
Right.
Now, tell me, Vittoria, prior to going into real estate, were you working in a different profession, other types of careers? What's your background in work?
I worked for financial services industry. I worked there for over 25 years, and mostly in marketing and communications. But I had the privilege of a great career at that company, and that allowed me to move around within the company. So I've had experience in media and PR, and even sponsorship and philanthropic capacities that I've worked in. So yeah, that's what I did.
So that really ties in with real estate being a background in finance, a background in marketing, because that's what marketing and finance, that kind of sums up real estate. You throw in a condo and then that's the industry. Wow.
Right.
So you really came with a wealth of experience and knowledge in what you would be doing anyway.
Yeah, the great thing, you know, I'm really grateful for all the experience that I got while I was working for a company, and then now that I could use those in my own business. So it's wonderful because transferable skills, right? All those that you mentioned, marketing and finance, and you know, social media, all that has helped me tremendously in my own business.
Fantastic. Well, it's good to know you actually are contributing a lot in the work that you're currently doing in real estate. Thank you.
Mhm.
At the moment, we are going to take a little break to talk about our sponsors, and then we will be back for more grown-up talk about real estate with our friend Vittoria Gallone, real estate agent.
Those lonely days of lockdowns and isolation are gone for good. Go to www.therealthingdating.com. That's www.therealthingdating.com. It's time to share. Share your time, share your life, share your love. www.therealthingdating.com. Join for free. Upgrade at any time, starting at just $5.99 a month. www.therealthingdating.com. Because it's time. You're listening to the Cool Life Podcast. We'll be back in 3, 2, 1.
And we are back at Cool Life Podcast, and I am Eva John with our guest, Vittoria Gallone, real estate agent. So we're continuing our conversation about real estate and what we can expect for our interest in as a buyer or seller. And Vittoria, before the break, you were saying that you have a background in finance and marketing, and that does have a really strong tie-in with all the work that you do in real estate. And now you hear the word marketing more than ever. And do you find that that's a big part of your job now?
Oh, definitely. So in real estate, obviously, right? There's marketing, you've got to market properties, there's writing about properties. Social media is something that I use a lot to share the properties that I sell and to talk about real estate tips and tricks and things like that to have people engage, right? So for sure, that has been in communications, right? Speaking with people, being able to write properly. I do have a newsletter that I send out monthly, and so I've definitely brought that over from the work that I used to do. So that's great. Web design, I used to do web design.
Wow.
And so I've got my website, and so all those things are transferable and that I've brought over from working with the company that I did. And it really lends itself nicely, like absolutely. And sometimes when I'm talking to real estate agents and I tell them my background's marketing, they're like, oh, you got this in the bag.
Right.
Not necessarily. There's always something to learn. I'm always learning something new. And
that's a really good attitude. That's excellent way, because truly
absolutely.
The world is constantly changing.
Absolutely.
More so than ever. And if you have a mind that's open to continuing to learn, you're always going to fit right in, right? Because you're always going to be on
For
trend.
sure.
Good for you.
For sure. And you always have to keep yourself current, right? So things change, especially like social media. Some people, that I've worked with before, they don't really do a lot of social media. And at one point when I first started my business, I had asked my niece to help me with my social media. And I thought, well, if you want to do this job, after a few iterations that she did, and I would ask her, and how did you do that? And how did you do that? Then I would start to do it because I wanted to know how to do it.
Right.
And then it just took, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed posting things and creating little, posts or reels. And that they don't have to be perfect. You just need to give it a shot and just have one tip, and then it just has to be short, right? So you learn all that. So it's been fun, actually. Yeah, it's fun.
You had mentioned that in your background, you've had to create websites, you've done web design, and you have your own website. Do you want to share with us what your website is?
Sure. So our website. So my Instagram handle is at VITT _ in the city. And my website is VittoriaGallone.com. That's pretty simple to remember.
Okay, that's pretty good. And so we'll make sure that it's seen. And so that's www.vittoriagallone.com. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
And you can actually drop the www.
Oh, okay, yes, I guess nowadays all you young kids are able to just fire off
Yeah.
that name and get that going, while the rest of
That's
us
right.
dinosaurs are still going. Good
Yeah.
for you. There we go. Okay, thank you. Thanks very much. Okay, I'll go take my Geritol.
Right? I know.
Right.
We need to keep learning. We need to stay current.
Right.
It's all good. It's really good. And I'm kind of geeky that way because I really like to take courses and learn and you know, when I discover something, even my daughter is impressed, right? She's like, "Wow, mom, that's really cool that you did that," you know. Sometimes it's like, "Mom, your reels are too much. Like you're doing too many reels." But it's fun.
It's fun, and it's also an excellent way to keep communicating with people, having people stumble across what you are working on at any given time. They might not have thought they were looking, and then they see something that's really eye-catching. I've seen some of what you post, and it's beautiful. It's already giving me really great ideas for home decor, as well
Oh,
as
good. That's
as
great.
I happen to know that you have an incredible knack for home decor. And like, does it irritate you when you go somewhere and I know you know this instinctively because you have been some of the most, like, your home's been some of the most beautifully decorated I've ever seen. And
Thank you. That's
oh
very
no,
kind.
you're very welcome. It's interesting to know that, it's such a necessary skill in real
Mhm.
estate to know what's the best someone can do. Like, does it drive you crazy? You go to someone's house and you're like, sell this house. And you're like, everything about your house inside is wrong. And I happen to know that. Like, do you do that where you just like, hey, let me give you a quick decor consult and I'll send you that invoice for $8,000 for consultation? Like, what do
No.
you say to someone who just does not have it together inside their home?
Oh, I look at it as an opportunity to show them what it could look like. And a lot of times the clients are thankful and they're grateful. I haven't had anyone say, "Don't touch my stuff," right?
Right, right.
But the other thing too is, I mean, staging and pricing, those are really important points for selling homes, right?
Right.
But there's simple things. I don't want people to feel really uncomfortable because a lot of times they do have things around them that they love, right? And that's I mean, selling your house can be invasive. When you're selling, your house has to be ready for people to come in. It has to be on point. But still, going into someone's home, that's their home. So the way that I approach it is I give them tips. And a lot of times people are aware because they're watching those shows,
Those reality real estate
those
shows.
reality shows.
Yeah.
So they know that you can't, you're going to have to make some changes a little bit, right? Depending on where you sit on the spectrum in your home with clutter or extra stuff around. So when I go in, I don't, I offer people, I'll say, if you like, here are some things that are proven. You need to depersonalize your home, right? You need to maybe use neutral paint color on the wall. The reason you do that is because you want the person coming into your home to picture themselves there, right? So you want to make it as like a clean slate for that person coming in. The other thing too is when you're selling your home, you need to remember, it's very emotional. Obviously, it's your
Yes.
home. So, but you have to think like the salesperson, right? And you can't get too emotional. It's a business deal that you've decided to put your house up for sale. So you need to remember you're going to have to make some changes, and so I try and ease people into it. And then once my experience is once I get people eased into it, and for example, let's say I clean out a cluttered bathroom. I'll go into their bathroom and I'll say, this is what you can do. What I've done is maybe taken stuff out, but they tell me what they use every day. So I might come in with some containers and just put them under the sink and say, okay, so this is the way the sink has to be, clear. But know that when you open underneath, your brushes will be there so that you can use them in the morning. Your toothbrush is there so you can pull it out in the morning. Just make sure you put it back after you're done. And a lot of times I love seeing their faces when they, I'll go in and I'll rearrange some things and, declutter. And then they're like, wow. And then they want to stay there. It's like, why didn't you do this for me sooner?
Why didn't you just come in as their home decor consultant?
Yeah. So I always say, yeah. So when you move into your new house, just call me and I'll be happy to help you do that.
I mean, those are really important tips. And like in the end, do you really want your toothbrush out there while a million people walk through your house?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But you want to be able to know that it's close by and that, you don't want too much change. The other thing too is when people stage, I mean, you can have stagers come in and replace your furniture and change top to bottom. It gets expensive. And for most people that I've worked with, that's not the route they want to go. And in my opinion, I haven't had to do that. I'll take their furniture, even, and I'll just even old furniture, or they've had things, and just bring in a few pillows, like just change some accent pieces, and you'd be surprised the difference it makes. And then they're thrilled, right? And they're like, can we keep those pillows? And I actually bring them from my house. Like if I had certain pieces or accent pieces or vases, I've done that. Bring in a fruit bowl, I'll bring it from my house.
Right. Oh, that's so nice of you. A huge impact. It's amazing. Like you said, people don't realize that they're sitting on the best house in the world if they would just, rather than do that whole Fred Flintstone, I'm home, destroy your house, throw yourself on the sofa, and just take some of all that comfortable junk away. And
it makes a difference, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, Vittoria, in this post-pandemic world, have you noticed a difference in how people have their expectations right now, and as adjusted to the fact that they've made it through 3 years of lockdown? Like, are you finding people who had planned to do this prior, but they had to wait until now, and now it's like, sell my house now, or are they like doing these choices in a reaction to coming out of the pandemic?
Well, the pandemic, like obviously, it changed the real estate landscape, right? And with there were a couple things. One, working from home. So people realized, when they had to work from home. First of all, when we were shut down, nothing was being done, right? So real estate declined. But then when people got used to the situation and they were at home and then they had to work from home, they realized, oh, I'm going to need more space. So then, of course, that bumped up all the sales, and it was incredible how much it increased. But now that people are realizing that, you know what, I could do Zoom calls from home. Doesn't matter from 1,000 or 100 or 10 miles away, but I can work from home. And so now they're really wanting to stay there. So what I've noticed is that commercial leasing for office buildings, that really has gone down. The sale volumes aren't there because employers are realizing that they need to be more flexible in having people work from home. So that is probably the biggest change that I'm noticing. And I think that there's a hybrid solution there for employers who need to rent space out. But they need to be flexible. And I think there's an opportunity for some flexible leasing term. So I really noticed it in the commercial side.
Right,
for
right, of
offices.
course.
Mhm,
That is a huge impact on what people had as a normal expectation, that here's an industry
mhm.
that people are going to be renting out offices, taking up a lot of office space, and all of a sudden, it's like all these vast empty floor upon floor
Right.
downtown for many cities that
Mhm,
have no use for that. And for a business saying, huh, why exactly are we paying rent to have, 3,500 square feet and
mhm.
all these lights on, and paying, having all
Right.
this huge phone system when we send everybody home on cell phones? And,
Yes.
it's a very, very different world. And I can see how that would affect real estate immediately for commercial real estate side of it.
Mhm,
But I've heard that there's also a trend where some of these empty spaces are being converted into condominiums, into homes, into um, medical laboratories, and other areas that we just hadn't thought of. Are you seeing that now, where some of your properties are conversions from former commercial properties?
I haven't in particular. And sometimes, though, I've often said, wouldn't that be great? I was thinking that too during COVID, right? It's like, oh my gosh, all these office buildings, wouldn't it be great to retrofit them to have housing, since we really need housing?
Right.
And at the time, too, the homelessness on the streets during the pandemic, and I thought, yeah, that just makes so much sense, right? Like, why don't we retrofit these buildings? Unfortunately, what I read and what I understand is that it's not that simple to retrofit sometimes these commercial properties for housing properties. And so I don't know, like, the extent of that, because I focus more on residential.
Right.
But I haven't really dove into that. I've just recognized that, and just interested in it, because it's like, yes, there's so many buildings that are empty now because of people working at home. And it's, what can we do with these?
I guess once you branch out, when you're ready for your Vittoria Gallone property developer, and that'll be
Yes, to come, to come.
right as the next step. It'd be interesting. You're right. When people who are unhoused, who are ready and willing to make a change in their lives, and the
Mhm,
opportunities, the appropriate types of home and property that would be a fit for their transition from being unhoused, if that
mhm.
doesn't exist, or there's not enough. So seeing
Yeah.
that as a future trend, it's something that is exciting. I'd like
Mhm.
to see that happen a lot more. There is more than enough to
Oh,
provide for everybody here, and it's just,
absolutely.
how have we distributed this? It's not that,
Mhm.
I want us to just like start, jumping up in the middle of a street saying, okay, we're going to take that building. Come on, follow me. There's
Right.
more to it than that. Of course, even
There is.
the way a commercial property, their pipes, their drains,
Yes, exactly. All that infrastructure. Yes.
they're in a
A
different
lot to
category.
consider.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
What
Absolutely.
you put into a home for plumbing is actually not the same as the plumbing that goes into a commercial building.
That's
And
right.
the type of electricity that goes into a residential property is not the same as the kind of electricity that
Right.
is accepted in commercial. So those transitions, you're right, that is an intricate
Mhm.
change. There's a lot more to it than just moving people in and just putting in a shower and a bathtub and things like that. But
Yeah.
I think maybe
But
that's
it
in the
would be
future.
nice. It would be nice to see, it would have been great to see some of those buildings at least, really. And I wish, I wish I had compared with the name, because there are some companies out there that in different countries that have done that retrofit, like, because they say that it may cost more to retrofit a building, to change it from commercial to residential, or to a condominium. Some of them have been done,
Right.
And it would be wonderful to see that more and more, because we do have there's a lot of commercial properties right now that just that are standing empty.
Right.
And it'd be nice to see those
with
filled up.
those, they're being empty. I mean, wouldn't it be really cool to know? It's like, oh, anyone who maybe once upon a time would say, yeah, I'm going to get this bachelor size condominium. It's like, well, we've got so much space. You now have a 2-bedroom. There you go. Enjoy it. Because it's like, hey, it's just this giant empty floor. Why parcel it up into tiny little units? Let's just go for it. 2-bedroom for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
Eva says. Now tell me, when you have clients who are looking at properties and helping them to make a decision, you said 30 viewings that you'd mentioned earlier before you can sometimes settle in on what's going to be a good fit for you. Do you find that sometimes you end up with a customer that this is sort of a hobby? They are kind of do you find that there are times when the person you're helping, whether it's just your senses telling you, this is just a looky-loo. Like, do you find there are people out there who are taking up your time as a kind of a hobby, something to do on a Saturday afternoon to look at properties?
Oh, well, yeah, the looky-loos. Yes, you said. I didn't know if everyone knew that term, the looky-loos. Yes. Yeah, you can have them, and sometimes those people, they're not really serious about buying, but if you're some of them are neighbors that just want to come in and check out, the place.
Right.
And sometimes they just come in and eat the cookies you just baked for your open house and take the brochures that you have. And some agents might think that see that as a short-sighted thing, that they're not potential clients, but every person who comes through the door is a potential client. So we always have to remember that, right? There's ways of handling those. Obviously, if it's a hot market and you don't want to be spending all your time with a looky-loo, because they could be taking you away from that one person who's really interested, and you want to make sure that that person's taken care of, and you're speaking to them and showing them, touring around the house that you're in, right?
Right.
But don't discount those looky-loos. Sometimes it's, if you have time and maybe you can take that opportunity to just talk to them and talk to them about their home. And they might not be ready now, but they could potentially be a client, right? So we have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, of course, right. They're there. It's an opportunity, isn't it?
Yes. And if you're going to be one of those, if you are one of those looky-loos.
Not me.
No.
Not me.
Not you.
Never. I'm a serious buyer or a stay-at-home. Yeah.
But if you are and you're curious,
right.
I always say, you know what, just be upfront with the salesperson when you get there, right? And don't take too much of their time, and just be sure, don't get offended if they say, oh, I'm going to go over here, right? Just be open-minded about that. And that's the least, if that's the least you can do if you're going to be eating their cookies.
Well, I blame you. Who told you to bake such good cookies? Oatmeal and gravel. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, you chipped your tooth? Get out.
Yeah, we don't want it. We don't want to do that. But yes, so they're potential buyers and potential sellers. So don't shrug them off too much. But I always like to, whoever comes into the open house, you can figure them out pretty fast. One way I like to do this, because a lot of times the neighbors in an area that I'm selling could be, they're curious. So sometimes my sellers, I'll say to them, do you want to have an open house just for your neighbors, just for the area?
Really?
So and get them out of the way, kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That gives them an opportunity to, if they want to just come in and see what it looks like. Again, you're selling it, right?
Right.
So you never know. One of your neighbors might want to just move down the street. You might have something different.
Okay.
So you can show
Yeah.
it. So I like to offer that opportunity. Or sometimes some sellers just don't want to have open houses, and that's okay too.
But what you're suggesting, that is very clever, what you're suggesting, because then, you're right. Any person can be converted to a buyer. You just don't know. You're going to end up showing them something that really touches them in a certain way, and they think
Right.
it's worth gathering their belongings and just moving down the road, as you said.
Right.
And to respect that opportunity and to make the most of it. That is actually a cool and true attitude towards sales, that you can sell to anybody. I know I can. And I think I've been fortunate.
I know you can too. I think you can too.
I've had a pretty mind-blowing experience in sales in the past, where when I realized that if you are answering to a person's need, and if you're not completely obnoxious to them, then people are open to being shown what fits for them, right? If you're going to take up their time showing them things that are not a fit for them, you're wasting their time and yours. And you're right, having an open house for somebody that's unexpected to move forward with the sale, it's interesting. We could convert that. Good.
That's right.
Thinking.
And always remember, people remember not what you did for them, but how you made them feel. And they'll always take that away with them. So you never know when you're going to cross paths with that looky-loo.
And so with this fantastic view of this side of real estate, we're going to take another little break, and we're going to be right back after we talk about our sponsors. We'll have some more information with Vittoria Gallone, real estate agent on Cool Life.
Those lonely days of lockdowns and isolation are gone for good. Go to www.therealthingdating.com. That's www.therealthingdating.com. It's time to share. Share your time, share your life, share your love. www.therealthingdating.com. Join for free. Upgrade at any time, starting at just $5.99 a month. www.therealthingdating.com. Because it's time. This is Cool Life Podcast. Please remember to subscribe to Cool Life on your streaming service and on YouTube as Hellenique Today. That's HELENIQUE Today. Because that helps us to bring more cool stuff to your ears. You're listening to the Cool Life Podcast. We'll be right back.
And we are back. Yeah. Welcome back to Cool Life Podcast. This is Eva John, and I am sitting with Vittoria Gallone, and we're talking about real estate. And I want to know, Vittoria, when you have your clients and they're ready to sell, can you tell them like the most effective changes that they can make to their home? I know you'd mentioned some decor, etc., but when someone wants to get the most value out of a home they've been in for a while, what are the value added steps that a homeowner can take?
So value added. So when you're selling, there's a couple of things, right? One, a lot of times people might say, we talked about decluttering and doing some staging, because staging and price. Work with your agent to establish a price. A lot of times people, again, get emotional and they're thinking, this is the value to me. This is my house. This is my value, right? But that might not necessarily be true in regards to the climate at the time, or the what other houses just sold for, or will be selling. So you really need to be, you need to trust your agent to make sure that they're doing the right comparative analysis to be able to bring you a proper pricing, right? So that could help. A lot of times, what happens is somebody will say, nope, I want this price. This is the price. Even though I show them the prices in the area or what's sold in the last couple of months, recent things, right? So when you do that, and then they still say, nope, I want it priced at this price. Okay, so that's what we do. And we wait a couple of months. And after a couple of months, they're like, we're not getting any bites. What's happening? Right. And most times, it's the price. So we revisit that. And then again, we might come down $20,000. And sure enough, then you start getting the bids or the offers coming in, right?
Amazing.
So you have to, if you're a serious seller, pay attention to the price, work with your agent, and make sure that they're giving you a lot of the comparative analysis. That's really important. But also, make sure that, sometimes I hear people say, well, this agent told me that I have to renovate my kitchen. I have to do this. You get your big bang for your buck is if you do things like simply like changing the color, painting something more neutral, using a neutral color paint. Sometimes you just have to fix that leaky faucet. Make sure that you clean the grout. So things like that don't really cost a lot. I mean, you can change the countertop, for example. It'll cost you maybe a couple $100, but you will get, when you just make minor repairs and changes, you'll get 85% of your money. Because so if you're doing those minor repairs as opposed to a mammoth renovation, it's better to stick to those. You don't necessarily need to do big renovations to sell your house.
Okay. Things that would have an impact from what you've described, if they're doing small things and just saying that, okay, so the grout, meaning that's the, that's what the plaster that people see in between the tiles or whatever.
Yes.
Mostly everyone knows what grout, but that's what we're referring to when we say grout,
right?
Like bathroom tiles.
Yes.
And so that little, like that cementy stuff, I guess if it looks like creepy crawly,
yes.
if it's green and gray, and
yes.
Then like bleach that out or regrout or freshen it in whichever way. Sure, then that can give a fresh look to a bathroom. And I know they always say kitchens and bathrooms sell homes, so that if you hear someone wants to renovate and you say, well, it doesn't have to be a renovation, it can just be an improvement.
Right. Like so you don't always have to make these major, when you're selling your house, you're not selling your house, you're selling your kitchen. Everyone's looking at your kitchen.
Right.
So but again, you don't have to do a huge renovation. You can simply paint out your cupboards, change the hardware on your cupboards. Here's a good tip. You can buy one more expensive appliance, and then just one. Why one? Because when they see the one KitchenAid, they assume that all of them are going to be that they've all been upgraded, right? So something like that, so there's tips and tricks. I mean, because a lot of times, and again, it's making sure that, let's say your kitchen is depersonalized, but also neutral. So whoever comes into your space, they're going to envision themselves, and they can envision themselves in that space. So that's what this is why we want to make small edits, but they want a nice, clean kitchen, clean cells. So as long as things are clean, you have missing, sometimes people forget to change their light bulbs. Some light bulbs that are out.
Right.
I make sure that the clients, I'll buy them light bulbs and say, go around your house and change the light bulbs.
Yeah.
Because we always forget about stuff like that. And then I go in and I switch the light on and there's no light bulb, like it's out, right? So I give them a pack of light bulbs, and if I notice it, I'll come back with light bulbs and I'll say,
Yeah.
switch them.
Oh my
So things like that.
You've got
Yeah.
like $3.99 package of light bulbs will sell
Yeah.
your $500,000 house.
Yes,
Come
you'd
on.
be surprised, just the little touches like that. And people appreciate that.
Oh my
Yep.
goodness. Well, tell me, when people are doing some kinds of improvements, just quickly on the same point, I've heard things like, don't bother going and getting a jacuzzi because that's not going to add to the value of your house. We'll go bother, investing in something that you like that is not necessarily going to mean something. Like, do jacuzzis really not add any value to the price of a home?
Jacuzzis, even swimming pools. You have to
Right.
have a certain client for that, right? So a lot of people, I mean, there are clients that don't want those things because they don't want to take care of them, or they think the insurance on a swimming pool is going to be more, which it is. So those types of things. So be careful, and maybe your real estate agent can help you determine. But bringing in a new jacuzzi, a lot of times people coming to look at your house, and it's not gonna make that difference if you bring in a jacuzzi, because you have to have a specific clientele for that. There was one house, and I mentioned it earlier, about being 2 doors away from the house that I was selling, and it had that open concept,
Right.
which was great because
Yeah.
people are all into this open concept, right? That was great. But when we went into the basement, they had a wall-to-wall aquarium, and they had beautifully done. Like it was a smaller basement than the house that I was selling, but it was beautifully done with a movie theater, some recliners, and then this wall-to-wall aquarium. That's a very specific client, because
Right.
there's a lot of work. You got to clean that thing, right?
Yeah, to feed
And
those fish.
they can't take that out of there. They can't take it out. If somebody comes in and says, I don't want that, you can take that away, then you're gonna have this big hole in your wall, right?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, so some things you don't need to do. You don't need to do. Your house, there's a buyer for every house. And as long as your house is clean and shows well, you're gonna sell it. You're gonna sell it.
That's good to
A
know.
little patience.
I'll cancel the jacuzzi. And so now, if somebody is, trying to sell a house in, say, an economically depressed neighborhood, or a neighborhood that it's actually known to have, criminal activity that has been, in the news or something, like, what kind of steps can a person take that will improve their home to, like, make it so that no one's thinking about, what the rest of the neighborhood looks like? What can they do to give themselves a better chance?
So this is where working with a real estate agent that you really trust and that you like, and that will be able to give you the remember I was speaking earlier about comparative the CMA, which is a comparative analysis, and they will pull together. First of all, there might be a client who is seeking a property that because the prices, it might be in a different price bracket, and they want a clean slate. So depending on the area, and you can still provide and show a client that it's a great place to live, right? So your agent is going to, first of all, give you comparative analysis for the neighborhood and what sold recently, and you're going to be able to share that. As well, your agent is also going to be able to highlight the location, and what a good agent is going to be able to show them that, there's like a park nearby, there's all these different amenities nearby. They're going to include all those things. So there's always something good in an area. There's always something they can highlight. and
Right.
to make it appealing to somebody, right? And of course, you're going to also do your due diligence as well to help the agent make it presentable. And because you're going to have to take a lot of pictures of the property, and you're going to have to post it, and you're going to have to promote it, and you're going to have to market it. And we know that a lot of buyers, they look online first. So you got to have really good pictures, right? And you want to be able to, like 96% of people look online before they actually go out and look
Right.
at things.
Yeah.
So that's why pictures are important, and staging. Now staging and, doing a little bit of that as well. But working with an agent that knows how to highlight the location and some other amenities and surroundings, and there's like a golf course here, and there's all these things, so they can pull out what is really actually good in this area
Right.
and help you with that, right?
Now, do you have any examples of completely successful, like just like the perfect sale, what people should be aiming for, something that you've experienced where everything went bang, bang, bang the way it should?
I don't know if it goes bang, bang, bang the way it should all the time, because there's always every sale purchase is different, which
Right.
is what I really like about this industry or this work, is that it's always interesting, it's always different. It's actually specific to that person, and that's where I like to give. That's why for me, every client is like I've never worked on it before. So I
Okay.
handle each scenario, each sale or purchase that comes my way, because people are different and there's so much variety, right? So the perfect sale for me is when I'm working with clients that are very open and respect what I bring to the table as well, right? And that they trust me. First of all, we have to like each other, and then it's I sit down with them and I find out what their wants and needs are and what they're looking for,
Right. Right.
and I'm able to show them exactly, really hear what they need and what they want. Sometimes what happens is I'm doing that and I present people with options, right? I'll show them houses if someone's buying. And because they're so savvy and they go on the internet and they're looking at things, they show me things too. So I'll take them there. If they want to see certain places, even if I haven't brought it to their attention, sure, we'll do that, right?
Right.
So that's great. And this has happened to me, is where, we're looking at things that they like. And then we may not have time to look at the things that I've brought to their attention. But in the end, what happens is they'll be looking at something thinking that they're, we want to see this because we picked it. And
Right.
then
Yeah.
I'll say, so the one example that I have where that kind of happened, and then I was very fortunate, is that there was something came across my desk, and there was this property, and I thought, wow, this is a really good property that my clients are looking for, except it's in a slightly different area than they were looking, So I brought it to her attention, and I said, I know this isn't in the area. It was part of the area, in the bigger area, but it wasn't quite where they wanted to be. And in the end, actually, it worked out. It was very successful. They bought that house, and they love it.
Good for you. Good.
I get an email from them, or a text, and they're like, "We're loving this place. I just love it. Thank you so much."
Wow.
So
That's important, in the end, because, it's a sale at one point, but once that sale is done, this is the rest of their lives, possibly
yes,
in a
their
place that,
dream home.
yeah,
Yeah.
that you've helped to provide for them. And it's like,
Yes.
does real estate agents still do that whole thing of like, you bought this house and here's a set of steak knives? Do you do that where people will buy, you give them that real estate gifting?
I love that part. I love gifting. Sometimes it depends. I really listen. So, for example, one client, they wanted this property, and it had lots of space and lots of grass, front and back. And the husband was adamant that he was going to get a ride-on lawnmower, right? And so they went back and forth. It was kind of funny because, we'd always joke and say, oh yeah, his birthday's coming up, you're going to get him a ride-on lawnmower. Or he'd say, my wife's birthday's coming up and I'm going to get her that for our house, our new house. That's our gift. So listening to the clients, I always try and pick something that's going to be useful.
Right.
And, and I want, we just did a deal that is the biggest purchase in their life. And sometimes it's their dream home, right? Even though I work with first-time buyers, downsizing, but in this particular case, it was their dream home. And I knew that this ride-on lawnmower was a big thing for them, So I may not bring steak knives. I may bring, a gift certificate at John Deere so that they could, help in their purchase, or maybe get them a new, put it towards their new lawnmower or something like that. It's always nice to, again, listen to your clients, pay attention, pick up on the nuances sometimes, and really deliver, like really personalized.
I'm hearing fairy godmother, but
not fairy godmother. Just wave my magic wand. Yeah,
wave your magic purchase and sale agreement.
Exactly.
And there you go, Simon.
Right? Yes.
Well, truly, it's been a thrill and fun to look at the real activities of real estate and the real grassroots experience of a real estate agent and the tips and tricks of moving forward with a sale in a successful manner. I've thoroughly enjoyed having your information and sharing your company, Vittoria. And I'm just going to ask one more time, if you can please state your web address so we can throw that up for people to take a look at once more.
Oh, for sure. So again, thank you so much, Eva. This has been a complete honor. I am thrilled. You have really made me feel at ease, and you're just a wonderful host. I love it. I'm just so grateful. Thank you. Thank you, and to you and your listeners. And congratulations on your Cool Life podcast. If anybody wants to talk to me, ask me anything, send me a DM on social media. Again, it's VITT_ in the city, or you can get me if you want to subscribe to my newsletter. Just come to my website at VittoriaGallone.com.
Thank you very, very much. And we're having that up so people can take note of it. A real pleasure.
Thank you.
And so now we are going to rock on out of here. Please remember to subscribe to get some exclusive access to our interviews, and check us out on YouTube. Thank you very much. Bless all of you. Thank you, Vittoria. Thank you from Cool Life Podcast. Bye.
And that was our show. Thank you for listening to the very end. Please remember to subscribe through your streaming service to get more access to our guest interviews. Also, please subscribe on YouTube to help support our podcast. Until next time, I'm Eva John for Cool Life Podcast. Thank you for turning me on.